just doing a quick walkthrough of our operations and in particular the way in which we've systemized it right now, because I thought it would be interesting to kind of pull back the curtain on how we operate. So where we see a big shift in the market is a lot of the sales teams in big companies increasingly depend less on the sales development and business development role as a job function, and increasingly depends on the job function that is called the go-to-market engineer. Now, the go-to-market engineer is pretty much somebody who understands how to operate AI and how to build software and how to build software with AI to automate the sales development role and to automate part of the marketing / go-to-market operation. Now, I am not necessarily a go-to-market engineer, but we run an agency in the enterprise pipeline space, we build enterprise pipeline in technical firms. And the way in which we do that is through outbound sales. In particular, I will say, because we also support the authority / content marketing operation. However, primary objective is building enterprise pipelines. So that's what we help our clients do. And we monitor all of the tender platforms, scrape that, plug it in here, and you just get an ingestion of all of the triggers and signals that you can reach out on based off relevant information that you have about a certain account, or that you have about a certain direction, or about the market trend in general, or ideally about relevant buying pressures or new hires or open job listings. That way you know what's going on in a certain organization, and that way you can reach out based on what's happening in a certain organization. Maybe there's even strategic digital transformation initiatives going on somewhere. Maybe there's initiatives going on somewhere surrounding branding, surrounding marketing, and those are going public, or you see it based off a job listing. You can use all of that information to reach out. I use marketing and branding as an example, but it can also be about engineering a new contract that they won, just relevant triggers that you would want to use in order to reach out, to prospect with high probability, to put it that way. So what we do is we map out all of these accounts, and you'll figure out, okay, there's triggers and there's, dismissal. So what we do is all of those signals come in, get ingested, and we can now say, based on each of those signals, is this a relevant trigger to use within the outreach? In that case, if we say yes, we map out the account and look at all of the decision makers within that account. If it's not the case, then we just dismiss it and we don't touch it anymore. And as you can see, we have had 34 triggers that we have mapped, 34 that we have not. You also see these blue and green numbers. That is pretty much the scoring of that trigger. And then beyond that, it's also scoring the accounts at the account level. Here we see somebody actually hiring a go-to-market engineer. We also score that based on our playbook and based on our ICP. So when you get onboarded with Locatix and with our workspace, we set this up for you. We pretty much figure out what the segmentation is that we use. There's also versioning in here, because what we find with many of our clients is we have certain hypotheses about how their target market looks, but later on we add more ICPs or we change the ICP. So that way there's still some versioning history, and you see how we are making the playbook better over time in order to yield better results from the outbound operation and pretty much all the email that we send, as well as all of the LinkedIn DMs and cold calling and whatever the outbound operation looks like for you. Could even be direct mail. In case you already have most of the market in your client base, you can even limit it to just an account list, rather than what we usually do is suppressing the existing accounts and then just running a very heavy outbound sales motion to all of the accounts we have not yet worked with, but still suppressing our existing clients so that we don't spam them with cold outbound. So that's already two things that are massively helping our sales execution time and making it much more efficient, because we are only targeting signals that are relevant. We are only targeting accounts that are relevant, and we are never sending our outreach to the wrong person, realistically. The subset of the market that actually would need our service or buy a service like ours, and the obtainable market is the part of the market that would actually buy that within the next 3 to 6 months, for example. And using those segments, we effectively know which accounts we can go after when it comes to the sales execution motion or the outbound sales motion, broadly speaking. So the SDR function only has to focus on the obtainable market, whereas the addressable market, we are addressing just with cold email. So we don't spam out the people we would like to talk to more professionally or at a higher level. And we just sell or send high value content to the addressable market so that we know that they'll get back to us the moment they get to the stage where they are ready to buy. But if we are talking to buyers we know are more so ready to buy, a different message and different way of prospecting them will be relevant than if they're still very early stage or just broad part of the market. So as you can see, that's how we've pretty much segmented this out. Next stage, of course, is to then map out that account. So I have some examples here. Let's just grab Big Geo, for example. The moment let's grab Fugra. They're pre-tender right now, but as you can see, they pretty much have an account overview. They're scored as a strong fit by AI. We have already sent outreach and they're in the stage of us reaching them. So this is the trigger that was initially flagged. We considered that to be a relevant trigger. So what we decided to do is grab this angle and apply it to the 19 different stakeholders there. Obviously, we've not reached all of the 19 stakeholders, but we have reached part of them and we verified their emails and LinkedIn profiles. And obviously, we have a status that we can check. We can decide to block outreach on the account level, or we can decide to block outreach on the stakeholder level as well. Because again, we don't want to spam the market or keep sending outreach to people who have already said they were not interested. We want to use our time wisely. So that's good. Additionally, there's obviously buying cycle and procurement information so that in case we do know they have a solution in-house, we always pretty much send a relevant message that way the moment we have that playbook configured properly, because AI uses the context of both the trigger and our playbook and our brand and tone of voice and products that we have to offer them a solution that could be of interest to them. And it takes a lot of time to do that one by one. So if you can do it at scale, you just have to click all of the signals that are relevant and then click all of the accounts and the buying committees that we want to map out. AI does the rest of the work. We always have a relevant message and we don't necessarily need to put everything into cold email campaigns. However, we are now only targeting the obtainable market, obviously, and we still want to target the addressable market. So at the campaign level, we are also using Email Bison, which is our backend for our cold email. And with that backend, we are able to have very good deliverability on our campaigns within, some test campaigns that you're seeing right here. But we have actually a few really good campaigns that we've run, generating over 100 business to government or government leads for a GIS provider in the European market. We have booked in McKinsey, we've booked in TomTom, we've booked in governments, we've booked in US Armed Forces, we've booked great accounts, primarily through one-off send queues. But the moment you have a very strong marketing asset that you can send to a broader addressable market for the more early stage buyers before they're obtainable, so without them necessarily being in buying motion, we can still market to that part of the market by just offering them what tends to work well, a webinar or an asset that they can reply to and then get. That's what works very well for cold email motion. And so AI also gives us suggestions here on what cold email campaigns to run, because that tends to be very hard to do. It's like if we look at our market, broadly speaking, and we look at our contact list or a contact list that we have, for one, which campaigns are working well is very interesting to use, which CTAs are working, which segments are relevant at this point to run as a broader cold outreach campaign. You can also do that with your own ideas and your own suggestions beyond what AI is to say, of course. But this is something that is very relevant to do based on the data and the information that you get from the market as you run outbound, because that's where a lot of people tend to lose out on a lot of value. Is the moment you send 1,000 cold outreach messages, you may still not have a single positive reply or deal done. Buying cycle and just in the marketing cycle, or let's say in the early stage market, in the marketing, at the marketing level and at the sales level, for vendor comparison and for, well, distribution, broadly speaking, for clients to actually start onboarding many RFPs, even beyond the pipeline build as more of an authority build, which has helped them close a lot of RFPs. So we've had clients really go from low RFP win rates to very high RFP win rates, or almost complete domination, to put it that way, for their RFP win rates. So if that is of interest, you can also book a call if you're more so interested in building pipeline, or maybe a combination of building pipeline and the authority in your market. Feel free to book in a call. We are always happy to talk if you are selling in enterprise markets. So there will probably be a link below where you will be able to see our website and check out what we do in more depth, as well as look at the calendar and when I'm available, in case you do want to talk to me about either of those things. So if that's of interest, be sure to click that link in the description or the comments or wherever I'm posting the video, and subscribe in case you want to learn more. So hope that's been useful. And if so, I hope to see you in that call or on another video. Appreciate it.